Hi, welcome to this video in which we are going to see a grammar lesson that corresponds to the textbook Speak Your Mind 3, unit number 8, lesson number 1, page number 79. So let's get started. As you can see here, we have the Google Doc that I'm going to share with you. By the way, if you want to see the information that I'm going to share with you in this moment, you can click on the link that is in the description of this video. So you will be able to have access to the information that we're going to see in a moment. So as I told you, this corresponds to Speak Your Mind 3. And today we have a grammar lesson that is third conditional. But let's start with the concept. When do we use the third conditional? Well, as you can see, we use it to talk about events that did not happen in the past. So we imagine the effects of past conditions that did not happen. In other words, we are talking about hypothetical situations that happened in the past, that could happen in the past. Sorry. So we're going to start with some examples. Number one says, if she had studied, she would have passed the exam. But really, we know she didn't study, and so she didn't pass. So as you can see, this situation happened in the past. I'm going to highlight keywords in the statement. So I'm going to highlight had studied. Okay. And this has to do with the if clause. So if she had studied, she would have passed the exam. And I'm going to highlight these keywords. Okay, let's continue. Example number 2. If he hadn't eaten so much, if I hadn't eaten so much, I wouldn't have felt sick. But I did it. I did eat a lot, and so I did feel sick. So here the keywords are hadn't eaten. I'm going to highlight them, and I'm going to use yellow for the words for the keywords that belong to the if conditional. Now I continue, and here I have I wouldn't have felt sick. So I'm going to highlight wouldn't have felt. I'm going to use light blue. These keywords correspond to the result clause. Now let's continue with number 3. If we had taken a taxi, we wouldn't have missed the plane. So we're going to highlight had taken. We're going to use yellow color. And in the result clause, we have we wouldn't have missed the plane. I'm going to highlight wouldn't have missed. These are the keywords that correspond to the result clause. Let's continue with number 4. She wouldn't have been tired if she had gone to bed earlier. In this case, the keywords are wouldn't have been, as you can see. But in this case, if you notice, the order changed a little bit because now I started with the result clause. Instead of the if clause, I'm going to use light blue because this color is the one that corresponds to the result clause. And the if clause will be this, if she had gone to bed earlier. The keywords will be had gone. I'm going to highlight those words and I'm going to use yellow color. Finally, we have number 5. It's the same case as number 4. If you notice, we start with the result clause. She would have become a teacher. So let's highlight the keywords. In this case is would have become. I'm going to use light blue because they correspond to the result clause. And then I have the if clause that says if she had gone to university. In this case, I'm going to highlight had and the verb gone. Okay, so this will be my examples. As you can see, there is a pattern in these 5 examples. So following this pattern, I'm going to share with you a formula. Okay, this will be a general formula for the third conditional. As you can see here, we have if plus subject plus had or had not plus the verb in the past participle. VPP stands for verb in the past participle plus something else that could be the complement. Then I have the subject. And here, if you see, I have 3 options. I have would, could, or might. I can use any of them. Here we have the negative form, which is also possible to use it in the sentence. That's why it's in parentheses. Then I have the word have, the auxiliary have, and then again we have the verb in the past participle and something else. This something else could be the complement. All right, this would be a general formula. Now, in order to understand much better this, we're going to do some exercises. Okay, and what I'm going to do in this moment, uh, I don't know if you have noticed, whenever your teacher asks you to work on a particular exercise, especially if it's about grammar, sometimes the examples that the book gives are not that clear. That's why we're going to focus on examples for the book, page 79, exercises A and B. So the aim is that you understand those exercises in particular. So let's start with instructions. It says type third conditional sentences for the situations. Okay, I'm going to give you two examples, and then the rest are going to be done by you. But obviously, we are going to, in the end, we're going to check together our answers. So let's start with number one. Number one says, there were no children at the time of the explosion. They didn't die from the attack. In this case, we have two sentences, and now we have to come up with a third conditional sentence, just one sentence. So here we have the formula. It's going to be a guide in order to do the task. So let's see. The first thing that I have to do is I have to see which is the conditional sentence. The if conditional sentence in this case is this. There were no children at the time of the explosion. As I told you, we are going to use we're going to use yellow, okay? And for the result clause, we're going to use light blue. Okay, so I'm going to highlight the if clause with yellow and the result clause with light blue. Okay, the first thing that I have to say is if the if clause is either in affirmative or negative form. If you can see here, it says there were no. So the word no is telling me that it's negative. So if it's negative, I have to turn it into a positive, affirmative form. How do I do that? Very simple. First, I copy the conditional. In this case, the conditional is if. Then I copy the subject. There, there were. In this case, I need, as you can see, sorry, according to the formula, I need to use the had. Okay, if there had, now here I have the verb were, which is the verb be. I have to turn were in the past participle according to the formula. So I say, if there had been, and I continue, children at the time of the explosion, I need a comma. The subject would be they. Now, talking about the result clause. If you see the result clause, it's negative because here says didn't. So what do I have to do is I have to turn that negative form into a positive or affirmative. So in this case, I say they could, would, or might. Remember that according to the formula, I can use any of them. They could, would, might. Then I need have, and then I need a verb in the past participle. The verb in this case is die, so the past participle would be died, died, and I copy the rest of the sentence from the attack. Okay, perfect. So in this case, since yellow stands for the if conditional, I'm going to use this color in order to highlight had been. And in order to highlight the most important information of the result clause would be could, would, might, have died. I'm going to use light blue color. Remember that that color represents the result clause. Okay, perfect. I have done number one. Now we are going to continue with number two. Let's read number two together. It says the protesters blocked the street. The traffic became chaotic. Okay. So which is the conditional? This one, the first part. I'm going to use yellow color. And now the traffic became chaotic. I'm going to use light blue because this will be the result clause. Perfect. Now, what do I have to do? First, I have to copy the subject. In this case, the subject, no, first of all, I have to put the if, the conditional. So that's what I'm going to do. I put if, then I need a subject, which is my subject, protesters. And that's what I'm going to do in this moment. If protesters, okay. Now I need to put, first of all, oh, before we forget, if if you notice, the protesters block the street is in the affirmative form. So in order to change it to the conditional, I have to change it to the negative form. So if protesters, actually, if the protesters, what do I need? Hadn't or had not, I need to use negative because in the original sentence is in the affirmative form. Had not, which is the verb blocked. I copy the complement, the street. Okay, I need a comma, remember? I copy the subject, the traffic. Remember, here I can use, I have three options. Yes, which is the first one? Do you remember? Would. The other one is could. And the other one is might. Plus have, plus the verb in the past participle. In this case, the past participle of become is, of became is become. So become chaotic. There you have there you have the second example. I'm going to highlight the keywords with yellow, and I'm going to highlight the keywords of the result clause with light blue, as you can see. There you have the answer. So here we have, if the protesters had not blocked the street, the traffic could, might have become, oh, would, could, might not have become. Why? Because remember that if it's in the affirmative, we have to change it to the negative form. Now it makes sense. Let's read one more time. If the protesters had not blocked the street, the traffic could, might not have been chaotic. Now it makes sense. Now it's okay. Now we are going to continue with number two. Okay, sorry, with number three, example number three. This will be the first one that you're going to do. So this is what we are going to do. I'm going to give you 20 seconds. There you are, 20 seconds. Now I will allow you to analyze the sentence, and I will allow you to change it to a conditional, third conditional in this case. Okay, I'm going to give you some time so you can think about the possible answer. Well, as you can see, time is up. So let's do it together. Let's see if you were right or maybe something was supposed to be fixed. So the first thing that I have to do, remember, is we put a conditional. In this case, the conditional is if, then the subject, the animals. The animals would be the subject in this case. Now, next, what do I have to do according to the formula? Oh, first, remember, we have to check if this is affirmative or negative. So let's see. All the information in yellow corresponds to the if clause. It's in the negative form. So now I have to change it to the affirmative form. So I just put had plus the verb in the past participle. In this case, the verb in the past participle is have. Sorry, the verb is have. And the verb in the past participle will be had again. Okay? Had. And I copy the rest of the information. Food after the zoo was closed. Comma. I copy the subject. They. So after the subject, what do I need? We have three options. I can use would, I can use could, or I could use might plus have plus the verb in the past participle. In this case, the verb is died, so I just have to put it, because it's a regular verb, have died in a couple of months. Okay, perfect. Now let's see, let's analyze it. If the animals had had food after the zoo was closed, this would be the conditional. I'm going to use yellow color. They would, could, might. Remember that I can use any of them. Have not. Remember, have not. It has to be in the negative form. Have not died in a couple of months. I'm going to use a light blue in order to highlight the words that are important in the result clause. Okay? We're going to continue with number 4. The same, I'm going to give you 20 seconds. Read the statement very carefully. Oh my gosh, sorry. Go ahead, please. Take your time. Analyze it very carefully. Remember that first you have to identify the if clause, then you have to identify the result clause. Okay, I think time is up. Yeah, time is up. So let's do it together. Let's check your answers. So in this case, the first thing that I have to put is the conditional if. Then I have to copy the subject. There. Okay. If you see, I after the subject I need to put the verb in the verb had, and that's what I'm going to do in this moment. Okay. Now the question is does it have to be in the affirmative or the negative form? And that's what we're going to check. Here says there were no people at the time of the accident. Here we have no, so this is negative. So if there had been people at the time of the accident, comma, I have to copy the subject. In this case, the subject is they. Now, if you say this is in the negative form, and remember that we have to change it to the affirmative form, but we have to use the formula. So after the subject, that is they, what do I need? I can use would, I can use could, or I can use might plus have plus a verb in the past participle. In this case, the verb is get. So I say got hurt, got hurt because of the accident. Okay, very good. Now I'm going to highlight the words, the key words that correspond to the if clause. In this case, the words are had been, and the words, the key words that correspond to the result clause. In this case is would, could, might have, got. Okay, there you have my answer for number 4. Now you can check yours. Now let's continue with number 5. Okay, let's see. I'm going to give you 20 seconds. Please remember, you have to identify first the if clause, the result clause, and to see if the sentence is in the affirmative or negative form. And depending on that, you change if it's affirmative, you change it into negative. Now, if it's negative, you change it into a positive. Okay, as you can see, time is up. So we are going to check now number 5. So let's see. Do you remember what we have to do first? Exact. We have to put if. Then the subject. The subject is owner. Very good. Owner of the restaurant in this case. If the owner of the restaurant. Okay. Here we have the verb closed. It's in the affirmative form. According to the rule, we have to change it to the negative. But we have to use had. So I say had not. The owner of the restaurant had not. The verb is closed the restaurant, comma, I need a subject. The employees, I can use would, I can use could, I can use might, plus have, plus the verb in the past participle. In this case, the verb in the past participle is the verb be. So might have been, and I put here jobless. So I'm going to highlight the keywords that correspond to the if clause. There you are. And here I'm going to highlight the words that correspond to the result clause. Would, could, might have been, as you can see. Okay, now we are ready with number 5. Let's continue with number 6. The same procedure. I'm going to give you 20 seconds. Read it very carefully. Remember that you have to identify the conditional, the if conditional, and the result clause, the if clause and the result clause. Second, remember that you have to check if it's in the negative. If it's negative, you change into positive. Now, if it's positive or affirmative, you change into a negative form. Time is up. Okay, let's check your answer. What's the first thing that we have to do? You remember? Yeah, that's right. We have to put first the conditional if, then the subject. In this case, my subject is the workers. Now, my verb is in the negative form. Okay, didn't. I have to change it into the affirmative form, but I have to use had. So I have to put had affirmative because in the original sentence says didn't. If the workers had, which is my verb, work, so I turn into the past participle form. If the workers had worked, and I copy the rest of the information in the factory for 5 days. Okay, comma, the subject is they. Now, if you see here it says didn't, it's in the negative form. I have to change it into the affirmative form. The three options are would, remember, the other one is could, and the last one would be might, plus have, and the verb in the past participle. In this case, the verb is get, the past participle would be got, and then I copy the rest of the information. I'm going to highlight the keywords that belong to the if clause. Oops, I was supposed to use yellow. That's right. Sorry. So let's do it. Okay, yellow, and I have to use light blue for the words, the keywords that correspond to the result clause. Perfect. We have here number 6. And finally, we have example number 7. Okay, the same procedure, 20 seconds, analyze it. Remember, you have to identify the if clause, then the result clause, and make sure that the sentence that is in the affirmative, you change it into the negative or vice versa. Okay, time is up. So let's check your answer. What do we have to do first? Do you remember? Yeah, that's right. We put first the conditional if, then we put the subject there. Okay, is this affirmative or negative? It's negative because it says no. So if there, I have to copy the verb, remember? Had, in this case, is the verb where the past participle is been. If there had been um, little kids at the time of the fight, here I need a comma. It's very important right after the if clause. Okay. Here says didn't. It's negative. I have to use affirmative. What verbs can I use? I can use would. The other one is could. And finally, we have might. Plus have plus the verb in the past participle. In this case, the verb is see. So the past participle is seen. Okay. And I copy the rest of the information. Okay, that's it. I'm going to highlight the keywords that correspond to the if clause and the keywords that correspond to the result clause. Well, as you can see, here we have the two. If there had been little kids at the time of the fight, they would could might have seen the incident. Okay, that will be everything. We are done with these examples. Now, I believe that you are ready to work on unit number 8, page 79, grammar, exercises A and B. If you know that somebody needs this video, make sure you share it. Thank you so much for watching.